Here we go. The book I am reviewing today is entitled A Higher Call by Adam Makos, M-A-K-O-S, just under 400 pages. It is a fascinating and compelling human interest story, one of the countless human interest stories that come out of World War II. And this story, like all others, has its own special character. The author spent 8 years to research and complete this book, including countless interviews with the story's two principal characters. When the book was published in 2012, it immediately became a New York Times and international bestseller. It is the amazing and gripping account of two World War II pilots, a 21-year-old American B-17 bomber pilot flying his first mission named Charles Lester Brown. Charlie Brown from West Virginia, and a 28-year-old veteran German Bf-109 fighter pilot named Franz Stigler from a small town in Bavaria. The story has two major components. The first takes place in the war-torn skies over northern Germany in December 1943. During his bombing run over a heavily defended aircraft factory in Bremen, Charlie's B-17 sustained severe and crippling damage. It has dropped out of its protective formation and become a solitary straggler, limping along on three engines, flying at about 2,000 feet elevation and roughly 35 miles south of the German North Sea coastline. At this point, Franz Stigler's Bf-109 arrives on the tail of the American bomber. His mission, of course, to destroy the B-17. As Franz approached the bomber from behind, he saw that the tail gunner station had been totally destroyed. And as he flew closer to the defenseless B-17, he was able to survey the severity of its damage. Not only was it flying on three engines, but the plexiglass nose was shot away. The fuselage had holes in it big enough to climb through. The left stabilizer was completely gone, and about half the rudder was missing. Also, he could see into the fuselage that some of the bomber's crew members were tending to their wounded. Franz pulled up on the bomber's left wing, close enough to make eye contact with its pilot. By this time, Franz had made the compassionate decision, great risk to himself, court-martial and execution, to let the American bomber fly on and escape. As they were now flying over the North Sea, Franz made hand signals in an effort to get the B-17 to fly the short 30-minute distance to neutral Sweden. Charlie ignored the German pilot's effort. Franz gave a salute to the American pilot, peeled off, and flew away. Charlie's B-17 lumbered on, endured the harrowing 250-mile flight over the North Sea, and miraculously made a safe landing in England. By the grace of God, both Charlie and Franz survived the remainder of the war. Franz immigrated to Canada in 1953 and eventually resides in Vancouver, BC. Following a career in government service, Charlie retired to Florida. Now we fast forward to the second part of the story. In 1985, the Boeing company sponsored an event at Painfield and Everett, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the launching of the B-17. Boeing invited all World War II B-17 pilots and crew members to attend. Boeing also invited Franz, who as a veteran World War II German fighter pilot was well known in the Pacific Northwest aviation community. When Franz received the invitation, he was hesitant to attend, but motivated and haunted by the memory of the experience of the crippled B-17 in 1943, he considered that this may be his one and only opportunity to learn the fate of the crippled B-17s. So he decided to attend and ask around if anybody had any awareness of that particular December 20th, 1943. Nobody did. Franz returned to Vancouver, certain that he would never know the B-17 crew's fate. A Short time later in Florida, Charlie Brown began his own inquiry regarding the fate of the German pilot. Did he survive the war? Eventually, after making contact with some World War II Air Force veterans in Germany, Charlie was successful in getting his letter describing the incident published in the German Fighter Pilots Association newsletter. When Franz received his copy of this particular newsletter in January 1990, read Charlie's letter, he was overcome with emotion and immediately wrote a letter to Charlie. When Charlie received Franz's letter, he managed to locate his Vancouver phone number and called him. In their conversation, Franz described enough detail that could only be known to someone who experienced the incident to convince Charlie that this is the guy. Charlie's next words to Franz, "My God, it's you," as tears ran down his cheeks. Several months later, in June 1990, the two former adversaries met and embraced each other in a downtown Seattle hotel. The following September 1990, at Charlie's invitation, Franz attended a reunion of Charlie's World War II bomb squadron at an airport in Massachusetts. Franz and Charlie were milling about under the wing of a restored B-17. Charlie motioned to a nearby hangar. The only two of Charlie's crewmen able to attend the reunion, along with their 25 children and grandchildren, emerged from the hangar and enveloped Franz in an overwhelming scene of emotion. Charlie and Franz formed a remarkable bond of friendship which prevailed over the remainder of their lives. Two men died within a few months of each other in 2008. Franz at age 93, Charlie at age.
Okay,
Quite a story. Quite a story.
thank you, Mike. That was excellent.